Hey everyone. I don't know if you can hear it. There's a bunch of birds, some cars, some sounds. I'm literally recording this in a shed because I'm in one house with a lot of people, and it's nice to not be alone during this time, but it also means that I basically never have a room. There's always something loud going on in the house, and I'm gonna try this for a change and see if that works. I'm here to update you on the situation in Germany. There are a few stories now, a few cases of women who have received the support to exit, but unfortunately it's all individual stories organized by individual groups. Oh, there's a cute cat coming into the shed. Ah, hello. Oh, it's adorable. I wish I could record video of this, but I'm just in the audio recorder. A really cute cat just trying to get in. Hello. Anyway, as a silver lining, there's a few stories now of women who asked for support to get out, and they were able to. So that's good. But like I said, a lot of women were just brought home back to their home countries, and we're not sure what's gonna become of them. And then there's a lot of women still stuck where they were before. But what I'm going to talk about today is another thing that's kind of exemplary of the times and of Germany's liberal prostitution policy, that despite, its regulatory aspects still, there's the thing that many people have pointed out. Germany has different laws in different municipalities. Berlin has always been a sector that's been especially deregulatory. Essentially, for a long time, we've had decriminalization in Berlin. And but there's also various extremes that have occurred in Berlin, like parts of the prostitution sector there. We were just interrupted by a bunch of loud noises. I think it doesn't matter where I record, there's going to be disturbances, and I'm going to have to spend a lot of time editing those out. So I apologize, there's a bunch of stuff in the background. I can't do anything about that. So, as to what's happening in Berlin, it's always been one of the most liberal, but not in a good way. That means it was a kind of an anything goes. And the positive aspect of this is that they weren't arresting women so much as elsewhere, but they also weren't putting a stop to really horrific practices like, for example, the parts of street prostitution where men were able to buy women paying in coins, so something like $5. Just the industry is just really massive due to the lack of control. And like I said last time, there's all this stuff going on with brothel owners. The National Association of Brothel Owners claimed that the family minister reached out to them to ask if the empty rooms in their brothels could be used to house women fleeing from domestic violence. And to be clear, the family ministry has since disputed that and said that they never reached out to the brothel owners. Now the claim is that instead it was the Berlin Senate that did it, that haven't made a statement about it yet. We're still waiting. Oh my god, this cat. Was denn, Maus? I'm calling her a mouse. Anything cute and female is a mouse, I'm sorry. Maus, komm mal da raus. This video is impossible. Anyway, okay. Obviously, that's terrible PR for the family ministry to do something like that. It is not even, thankfully, there's a consensus in most of Germany that putting women affected by domestic violence into brothels and their kids is unacceptable, irresponsible, and wrong. If we were actually consistent, because legally it's just a work environment, then there shouldn't be any problems here. But thankfully, people haven't totally lost their minds. But I think what was interesting, whether this really happened or not, I can't really imagine, why would the Brothel Owners Association lie about that? I do think someone reached out to them, and then they made a huge public thing about it, being like, of course we care about women affected by domestic violence, and we'll gladly take them and ask for no money. The plans have changed now. These women are being put into hotels. But someone somewhere, I do think, actually asked the association if they would consider using some of their unused space. And this is the statement from the association that I think is very telling. So this association says that the Family Ministry and the Senate of Berlin asked them if they, for the time being, could have women fleeing domestic violence brought into brothels. Because women's shelters are, all the rooms and beds are filled right now, as they are in many countries. And the association claims that, of course, they asked all their members, and the members said, yes, of course, and we won't be asking for any money, and of course we have solidarity with women who get beaten up by men, right? Then they get told no from whoever contacts them. They get told no. We'll actually put the women somewhere else. And then the brothel owners say, well, obviously this is due to double standards. This is due to weird moral ideas about what kind of place a brothel is, that it must be a bad and dirty place. It's not a theory that most brothels are run by literally organized crime, or that violence occurs there, or that many of them actually are really unhygienic. Several brothels, since there's been more inspections, since they kind of tightened the regulations, several brothels have been closed because of the hygiene standards, because they were at a point where if you were in it, you could get sick from it. So they shut them down. That's not speculation. That's what a lot of brothels are absolutely like. After this, the Brothel Owners Association goes on to say a bunch of things, again, that I've been saying for years, where people always say, oh, you're exaggerating, or you're stigmatizing women in it. They get to say the exact same thing. Just because they're not abolitionists, they get to say this. Because they get to say all these things and then say prostitution is a good thing. And I say all these things and then I say it's an exploitative system. But anyway, here's what they say. Brothels have really great conditions to take on women. They're small, private living units. They're anonymous. They're not often identifiable as such. And they're very safe. They have a kitchen, a bathroom, a toilet. And the men and women who run the brothels could also be women's, someone to speak to. Like that the women who just escaped their violent partner or whoever could talk to. And who would listen to what they're dealing with. Because it says that brothel owners are very well used to and trained in doing this. Interesting. I'm the one who's been saying that prostitution is like an abusive relationship. And the Brothel Owners Association essentially just stated the same thing. They go on to say, in our kitchens, the madam or the manager often sits down during regular hours with the sex workers and talks for hours about, how to professionalize their profession and their personal, private struggles. The severe problems that women are having start with making very little money, which, by the way, is something to do with the brothel owner taking such high rates of them, 100 euros a day and more, not liking their job, having no desire to do the job. If I say those same things, I get hounded. Problems with their partner or their husband, talking about how their kid would like a really nice present. Yeah, some women, most women are in prostitution for bare subsistence, and then some might be able to cover bare subsistence some other way, but they would sometimes like to have their kids have nice things, like Christmas presents. Because if they were back in Romania working some shit job, that might be marginally safer, but they'd be scraping by. The kids never would have any nice things. And if you've grown up not having nice things, maybe you would want your kids to have some. So anyway, they're worried about their families back home because they can't go see them regularly. It's not an ordinary business where, if you're a regular business person, does travel a lot, but they do still always get to see their families. These women don't get to see their families for, they get to see them maybe once a year, maybe twice. They miss their home. A new love they have. Yeah, it's true, some women have relationships while they're in prostitution. Like, it's not like their private life stops completely. And there are unique struggles to that. And stigma plays a role. At the same time, personally, I can't be mad at someone who's like, I like you, but I don't want to have to worry so much about my partner. Or I don't want to share my partner. I think that's fair. Struggling with the German language. I keep saying a ton of these women don't speak German. and the different culture. So, and they highlighted this one sentence. Brothels are ideal conditions for women in distress. Because they just admitted that a bunch of women in their rooms are victims of domestic violence, poverty, of lack of alternatives, of pimps. They didn't use those words, but that's what they were describing. Thank God they didn't go through with this crap. If it's actually true, if the Berlin Senate was consistent, and they have done a bunch of really cruel stuff, like they were responsible for putting up these sort of mobile tiny bathrooms on various parts of where street prostitution happens in Berlin. And they said, well, these are both environmentally friendly bathrooms, public bathrooms, and they're also good places to practice prostitution. And then they felt that this was a humanitarian measure. So it's this group of people. It wouldn't actually be beyond them to say that it's safe and fair and not insanely responsible to put women fleeing domestic violence in brothels. Thankfully, they took it back, though, because they realized that was a step too far. Because that's where they're going to get bad press. They can do all kinds of stuff to pretend that serious exploitation isn't serious exploitation, like those women being paid in coins on the street, those brothel owners taking this as insane sums, all the types of violence that have happened in brothels, and that happens regularly. They can pretend all those things don't happen because that happens to women in prostitution. And the people who care about those women are, well, their kids and their family far away back in their homes most of the time. But the women who are fleeing domestic violence right here in Germany, at least they have a little more advocacy. That's not some immigrant woman who is here being shuffled through various brothels, different one every 2 weeks. And then we never see her again because then now she's being exploited in Spain or in Italy or someplace else. It's easy not to care about her. Yeah, this isn't really good news, is it? It's just a bunch of hypocrisy from, this is literal pimp lobby. Like these literal admitted pimp lobby. Bunch of hypocrisy from them. I'm glad the Berlin Senate is a hypocrite. If they had gone through with this, that would have been bad on every front. And what do we learn from this? Lawmakers do care what their constituents think. At least in Germany, we're lucky to have some kind of democracy where they have to. If we raise hell, we can't stop things. I'm sure this was stopped because people protested. People said, are you fucking insane? It does matter. Things are not going to change incredibly overnight. But consistent protest with your government does matter and can make a difference. And every person that it can help in whatever distress they're in, that's worth it. So, okay, the last thing I want to say is I want to reiterate my call to, if you can spare something, to please donate for funds for women in prostitution. I'm going to put 3 in the description. 1 for the women on the streets of Berlin, 1 for 2 women sharing an apartment. That one hasn't gotten that many donations yet. Please give to that one as well if you can, even if it's just 2 women. They need it. Right now they only have enough to buy food. And a 3rd one is for women in Austria, which is also a broader group of women that'll be reached through NGOs. I hope everyone's well. And I'm sure I'm not the first person to say this, but if you have neighbors that you get along with, if you can go shopping for each other, if you can play some music for each other, if you can share things that people need, this is the time to do that. I hope everyone's okay. And I'm hoping I can organize a live stream maybe in the next week or so. I'll let you guys know. I am a little bit stressed out. I do have other things that I need to be doing, so I can't promise it's going to happen, but I'll try. See you then.
Halo Mas? Nah, itu ya? Ah, sami sini Mas. Ya, ya Let's go. Let's go. I miss you, Namas. Aw.